Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for our very last webinar of September, and we're happy to present Vivian Lee, who's back with Rob from RBC. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
So we're very glad to have Vivian back. As she promised, she's going to be answering some questions that were left unanswered with her previous webinar, and she's very much open to answering all your questions that you will have today at the end of the webinar today.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Sonia. And I have, I'm very happy. I have a lovely guest today, Ronn Peters, and Ronn actually works with me in my team, and he has tons of experience working in the retail banking world because we have received some questions related to the certification and the qualification needed to work in the retail banking. So that's why I invited Ronn. I'm sure he can add a lot of great insight to the webinar. Okay, so Sonia, maybe you can move to the next slide. I can give a break. Oh, okay, so it's about myself. Okay, so I currently lead the inclusive recruitment in RBC. Is quite a rewarding and humbling job because we do a lot of community outreach. Our mandate is to help RBC bring diverse candidate from diverse community into the organization, like yourself, like newcomers, because I myself, I'm an immigrant myself, and I definitely understand the challenges and the barriers newcomer face when looking for a job when you're new to the country and not having a lot of network, and there's language and culture barriers. So definitely, I love this opportunity to work with ACCES and as a way of paying it forward, right? To help more immigrants to find the rewarding career in Canada. And Ronn, maybe you can give a brief introduction of yourself.
All right, sure. Hello, everyone. Name is Ronn Peters. So I work with Vivian. I'm an inclusive recruitment specialist. So I work a lot with newcomers, persons with disabilities, and we also support Indigenous peoples of Canada as well. I myself am an immigrant to Canada. I'm originally from the Caribbean. I've been here for almost 10 years now. For those who are from cricket-loving countries, I am originally from Trinidad and Tobago, so Brian Lara country. So cricket lovers will know who Brian Lara is. Yeah, and I'm happy to be here and help answer any questions.
So next slide. Okay, so this is one of my favorite slides to talk about RBC. We are, you know, and I would say one of the largest banks in Canada. Sorry, that's. Oh yeah, okay. So we have over 80,000 employees globally. We operate in 37 countries. So this slide would be beneficial when you're going to an RBC interview. I always advise people to do a little bit of research about the company you're interviewing with, so that you can show that you're a strong, you have strong interest, right? So we have different lines of business. Of course, personal and commercial banking is one of our largest business segment. We also have insurance, we have wealth management, capital markets. Both wealth management and capital markets are global. And we also have support group like HR, like a recruitment. We belong to the support group, right? And we also have, I don't know whether anybody knows that RBC is actually the second largest employer in Canada in the technology world. If you're an IT professional, we definitely hire a lot, especially in some niche tech space like mobile development, cybersecurity. Those kind of jobs are highly needed in demand. And we are very proud to be Canada's best diversity employer. We just a few weeks ago, we were actually named the top 3. We were the global diversity employer. RBC was named number 3, and of course we're the number 1 in Canada. So very proud to work in this company that really committed to diversity and inclusion. Can you, everybody can hear us okay, right? Okay. Okay, so next one. So we serve our client in 200 languages. If you're wondering how do we serve our clients in 200 languages, that means we actually hire from the community to serve the community. So we actually hire a lot of newcomers every year because of the language skill and because they have the banking or customer service background from their home country. We definitely value your support and commitment to our clients from newcomer community. A little bit stats about our commitment to diversity. We actually have over 60%, 60% of our workforce are females, and 45% of our executives are women. So, and that actually shows a tremendous commitment to develop females into senior leadership roles. In terms of visible minority is more of a Canadian term. It means if you're non-white and by color and non-Caucasian by race, and if you're not Indigenous person, that means you're visible minority. So a lot of immigrants fall under the visible minority. So the Canadian workforce availability is 25% and RBC is at 35%. That definitely shows our commitment. We have a lot of, once you join a company, there are a lot of employee resource groups for different people from a different background. So those kind of resource groups help build connection, help you network, and help you develop skills. So it's something that a lot of new employees love when they join the company. Sonia, if you can move to the next slide. Okay, so a lot of times we get asked, you know, as a newcomer, how do I get into the bank? And maybe we never got a chance. We are very, very proud. This is our most recent number. I ran the report a few weeks ago. We're very proud to say that 42.5% of Canadian recruiters are visible minority, and the 48% in Toronto are visible minorities. And most of them are immigrants themselves and or second-generation immigrants, right? So we have the cultural acumen to help us bring talent from diverse communities. That's something we're extremely proud of, and we feel like this kind of recruitment workforce will help us really break the barriers for our newcomer immigrant candidates. Next slide. So, okay, so we're going to get into the questions. We selected a few questions to get started with that we definitely encourage you. If you have some questions that we didn't answer after, I think we have maybe 10 questions after this section, you can definitely submit your questions through the chat box, and Sonia would select your questions and we'll be very, very happy to answer. So what's the best way to get involved in the hiring process within financial services? So definitely, I would say 99% of our jobs are posted online. We only have a very, very small percentage of our jobs that are reserved for our internal employees. 95% of our jobs are both external and internal. We post at the same time. If you see how our recruiters post jobs, basically we check 2 boxes simultaneously. Do you want to post it internally or external? So it's at the same time. So definitely go online and go onto our website and search our jobs. You can see Ron's face actually in our current job site. We just updated our new site and have some good updated imagery. And the other thing is, we know that the application process has to go through online application. However, there's a big component of networking, right? According to statistics, around 70% of the jobs are really acquired through a network. It might not be, you talk to a recruiter and tomorrow when you apply for a job and you get an interview, it might be the network you have with your community members or with a recruiter, or you go to a conference, you meet someone. It might be you did an information interview that you meet someone and someone feels that you can be a great candidate for the role. It might take you 6 months, from the day you made a connection to the day you got an interview, right? However, it's really important to build that network, and I understand, and including myself, it's not really comfortable all the time to go out and talk to people and build that network. But it's always the best way, I would say, from a recruiter's perspective, to step out of that comfort zone, to meet new people and present yourself so that people can remember you when in the future they have an opportunity in their company. Ron, I don't know whether you have anything to add.
No, I think you covered a lot of it. I'll just say as well, working with organizations like ACCES is very helpful as well, because we are always reaching out to them, sometimes looking for candidates. And they'll be good for maybe, giving a second review of your resume, just to get another perspective, make sure it's sharp and clean and ready for applications.
How does the retail banking industry respond to international qualifications? So that I actually mentioned very briefly. Our main hiring principle is to hire from this community to serve the community, right? So Canada is a very diverse immigrant country, so we definitely want to hire people with international qualifications to really bring different perspectives and bring your skills and your knowledge of the community so that we can help the community better. If you want to work in the retail banking world, we're constantly hiring newcomers. We have events. As long as you have the capabilities and you have that kind of customer service mindset, we would definitely love to invite you to the organization. And we'll touch on the certification and qualification question later. So considering the competitive nature, what is your advice to get your foot in the door initially? Ron, do you want to start, and then I can add, as we talk?
Sure. Yeah. So just as we mentioned before, it is doing that sort of networking, looking for jobs that fit your skills and qualifications and applying to those is always a good start. Working with agency partners like ACCES, looking as opportunities do come up. We also work with an organization called Career Edge. This is something you can search up as well, where we offer, contract roles for newcomers as well. It's a great way to get your foot in the door, get some further experience, and network with people as well internally.
So what I would add is really to switch the mindset from I see a lot of challenges to I see the opportunity, right? That really making a great difference, because we hire a lot of immigrants every year. And of course, in the retail banking, in the sales and service roles, in say our personal and commercial banking, and in our insurance, we hire a lot. We also hire a lot of people in the IT field, and with the professional roles such as say audits and finance accountants. It's not high volume, but we do have opportunities, and some newcomers do get hired. And from the back end, we understand who get hired and who doesn't. it's really about how much homework you do. It's not like we don't hire newcomers. It's there are some newcomers who have done a fantastic homework, even from the preparing themselves to do this job search, to write a perfect resume, and also to have some good interview preparation that would guarantee you a better opportunity or better results. So definitely, I would say do the homework, and that's something very, very important. Search the company before you come to the interview. Do your, show your interest, show your passion. And we had some, actually, in my next webinar, I'm just going to talk about interview, how to, really stand out in the interview. But in the past webinars, we have mentioned and touched on what is a good resume, what you need to prepare for the interview. A lot of times you feel, oh, just because I'm a newcomer, I don't get a chance. And we do acknowledge that there are a lot of challenges and barriers, like I mentioned, but there are some newcomers who really perform exceptionally in the interview, and they do get a job. So that's something I want everybody to keep in mind. Just switch the mindset from, oh, this is a lot of challenges we're facing, to what can I do? Like I would do my best to perform in the interview or in the job search. Sonia, yeah, next slide. So Ron can answer this question.
All right, so yeah, in terms of certification or degrees needed to start a career in banking. So in the retail banking space, and that's, facing customers, we have two main sort of entry-level roles. There's a client advisor, that's what you traditionally call a teller, and then you have a banking advisor. That's more sales-oriented. For client advisors, there is no certification required. If you have a basic undergraduate degree, that will be fine. However, for the sales roles, there are federal regulations, so there's certification that you have to get. It's something called the IFIC, Investment Funds in Canada, or the CSC, the Canadian Securities Course. These are required by law for any financial service institution you want to work for. This is something that you must get. It's a self-study exam that you do, and it's pretty straightforward. A lot of people are able to successfully get it. Now, in terms of the recruitment process, you can get hired without having the certification, but we do give you maximum of 2 months after getting hired to complete that certification successfully. If you are unable to complete it successfully, we will have to terminate the relationship at that time. All right, but we will give you time. You must show at least a willingness to get it during the recruitment process.
Banking employers face candidate with management background applying to entry-level positions. Won't they be considered overqualified for an opportunity to be analyzed, thinking about future targets for the company? So we get asked a lot of this question, right? So there's a few points that I want to mention. We do get a lot of people who have multiple years of experience in their home country, and they apply to entry-level positions. So for example, we have MBAs, we have a lot of MBAs people, right? We also have, say, people in the banking world from their home country. They are senior managers, or they, even higher. They want to come into Canada to get their foot in the door. We totally understand that for immigrants and the challenges they're facing, and we understand why they apply. So what we are looking for is whether you have the passion for the role. and whether you're dedicated to stay in the role for a certain period of time, right? We know it's entry level. You might be overqualified and you might feel bored after a while, but we want you to really take the chance to learn about how we operate as a Canadian bank. And there are a lot of opportunities to move up to the career level, right? You can start with the client advisor, become a banking advisor, and then become a client financial advisor. So there are a lot of opportunities to move up. But we're looking for, because we as RBC, we invest a lot in our training. We can say that we provide the best training among our competitors when we hire our new employees. We definitely would love to see that in you, that you have that passion to provide excellent services to our client. Yeah, so whether overqualified or not, that's less of a concern. It's more whether you're willing to stay with us and really provide good client service. Ron, if you could.
Yeah, no, everything that Vivian said is correct. As well, when you are preparing your resume, if it is a sales and service role that you are applying for, we would like to see, just make sure highlight some of your previous sales and service experience. All right, even though you had management experience before, make sure there's some element of sales and service, because we're always looking for fit. All right, and that's the main thing. And as Vivian just mentioned, yes, you might start off at an entry-level sales role, but it really gives you an opportunity to learn about some of the nuances of Canadian banking. There are products and services. When I came here and I joined the bank, there are things that I certainly did not know about from my own home country. It was totally different. So it was a great learning experience for me. And then I was able to then, after a while, translate that into future career opportunities for myself. So there's still a lot of learning to be had. We just want you to have an open mind when approaching these types of jobs.
What are the computer skills required to get a bank job other than Microsoft Excel? So this question is really, really general. It really depends on the role, right? Of course, Microsoft Excel is a very fundamental. A lot of other roles and pretty much Microsoft Office is fundamental for us to perform in the workplace nowadays. But depending on the role, for example, if you're in IT, if you're a developer, there will be a lot of computer expertise that are needed. And if you work, say, in our finance department, there will be some software we would want you to be equipped with and be familiar with. So it's not, we cannot give a definite answer to this. It really depends on the role. And I would say the more you are equipped with a computer, and then maybe that's better, and you can perform more efficiently on the job. Is there any formal stipulated template resume that's prescribed for the bank roles? We don't have I would say we don't have a preferred template, because we see different resumes for different roles and from our applicants. A lot of time, the majority of the resume are more of based on the timeline, right? You start with the latest job and then go down the road. But there are some candidates who use the more skill-based resume, so highlight the skills you have, and then the timeline follows. So it really depends on the role. So if you're, say, applying for a designer role, you might want to make your resume a little bit fancier, right? As we don't mind seeing those resumes, because shows if you're a designer, then you have a resume that shows your style. That's quite creative. really, we don't really judge by what template you use. It's what, I mean, I think one thing to keep in mind is your resume, what's the role of the resume? The role of the resume is to catch recruiters' attention and get you the interview opportunity, right? So whatever resume that will help the recruiter help you, that's the best resume. I always say really customize your resume and based on the job requirement, and I always highlight the words that are required that you have in your own experience that are required by the job mandate. A recruiter usually would spend maybe 10-15 seconds looking at one resume, and if they see the keywords they're looking for, then they would have a closer look. If they see the resume, say if you apply for a project management role and then you don't have any project management experience, maybe within 5 seconds then your resume is passed, and they would move on to the next one. So really, it's do your customized resume before you apply for a role. That will really increase your chances of getting recruiters' attention. Do they have training when you employ a person? What kind of process they have after I employ someone? Definitely. So RBC have a big learning and development team, and also we have each business. So the training, it really depends on the. It can be different. It can be on the job training. So when you're new in the role, usually the hiring manager would assign you a peer mentor just to teach you what is it on the job. And usually we would invite you to meet with each team member, right, to understand the team's overall deliverable and what is it in your specific role. But you are hired because you have the skills that's needed for the job. So do not doubt yourself if you're hired, but there's definitely a lot to learn. So it's a long learning process. Everybody has a learning curve, right? When I just started my job, I felt like the first year I was constantly learning new things and new concepts, and from my colleagues, from my team, from people who are from my boss, and from the people who report into me. So it's just a continuous learning project. And we also have a lot of online learning courses. So say if you want to advance your Excel skills, there are a lot of free online learning courses that we offer to our employees. Sometimes it depends on your role. We also send people to specialized trainings.
I can just go in a little bit more in the retail space, just to kind of give you an example. It's very detailed, the training process is very detailed. So for the banking advisors or the salesperson, there's up to 36 weeks of on-the-job training that takes place. Like Vivian mentioned, you do get assigned another salesperson, so you work with them, you sit in the office with them, observing the system, observing how they interact with clients, and then you get a chance to practice with the employee observing you. So that's kind of the informal piece. There's also some virtual classrooms that we conduct with new employees in that environment. So that's the more formal side. So it's a mix of both formal and informal training. But we will always make sure that you are well trained to do your job successfully.
Yeah, so I think those are all the questions we got prior to this webinar. If you have more questions, please do ask in the chat box, and then Sonia can present those questions to us. So before we move on to the freestyle Q&A section, just want to let everybody know that if you're interested in either becoming an RBC employee or become our client, where we have some great newcomer packages for you, customized and designed for you. Please do go to our rbc.com newcomer/newcomer section and see what we have there to offer. If you're interested in job at RBC, we have a new job site, and this new job site is designed to, like Amazon, if you do some key search, and that they're going to send you some similar jobs to you directly. So please do visit our job site and explore some opportunities that you would be interested in. Okay, so Sonia, do we get any questions?
Taking questions. I know there's tons of questions here. All right, we'll start taking them here. All right, so the question here from Celia, she says, are you before the land in Canada?
Sonia, sorry to interrupt. You're breaking out. We cannot hear you very clearly.
Okay, I think we're having some audio issues here. Can you hear me now?
No.
No, it's cracking. It's breaking up badly.
Okay, is that better now?
Better.
Yes.
Okay, so question from Celia. She would like to know if RBC recruits people before they land in Canada.
We do have some roles that we actually need international talent. For example, in our IT world, there are some specialized roles and jobs that Canada as a country does not have enough talent. So we went through the great initiative and get the approval from the top of the company, and I also went through some process to allow us to really recruit internationally. But we do want to say, because RBC is a Canadian company, we do want to provide support to the Canadian workforce. Majority of the roles we serve our who are like London immigrants, they're permanent resident and Canadian citizen. So we definitely would accept your applications. However, the majority of the interview need you to be here in person. And for our client-facing roles, it's more important because we would recruit you based on the location you are in, right? So if you don't know where you're landing first, it's very hard for us to recruit it because we don't know whether you're going to be working in our Toronto office or in Calgary or in Vancouver. So we would advise that you apply after you have landed.
Thank you. Next question, I'm going to generalize this question now. A lot of people are saying they might have some gaps in their work experience. How do they go about applying to jobs, with this gap that they have? There might be some mothers that took time off to stay home with their children. How do they explain this, and how do they put this on their resume?
Yeah, we get asked a lot about those experiences. So, for example, if you are a mom, you took some time off and take care of your family, and now you want to come back to the workforce. Or if you're an immigrant, might take you some time to find a job, right? And if we are a great supporter of people with disabilities, and if you had a visible or invisible disability, you might have taken some time off to take care of your mental or physical well-being. We totally understand that. We would definitely want you to really be honest on your resume. It's more likely the hiring manager might ask in your interview, say, hey, we noticed that there's a gap, and please just be frank and be honest. Hey, I took some time off to take care of my family, but I'm very motivated to come back to the workforce. And I would definitely say your skills and what you bring to the table is the most important. It's not the gap on your resume. If you're worried that the gap in your resume might impact the recruiter decision, there's always opportunity for you to explain that in the cover letter. If you want to briefly mention that, say, like I was, I was in the workforce. I enjoy my job, and then I had a family. I decided to take care of my kids for a few years, but now I'm very motivated and look forward to coming back to the workforce. And there's nothing wrong with that. We have in Canada, there's great support to work-life balance, and we definitely value people who not only dedicate their life to work, but also can have a good work-life balance. We want to support that.
Thank you. And Vivian, there's a lot of questions about career changes. So if people are coming from a different field into the banking industry, how open are you guys in accepting these people?
We are, if you can show that you have the transferable skills, right? And so many immigrants coming to this country, actually it's a great opportunity to find something you're passionate about, right? So like for myself, I was a teacher before I came to Canada, and I decided I want to study HR. I'm passionate about employment law, so I made the career switch myself. And I understand when you just graduate from school, or you don't really have that tremendous experience behind you, but you have you might have the communication skills needed. You might have the customer service skills needed for the job. It's really how do you align your passion and your skill that you can bring to the table with what the current job is asking for, and really make that connection, and also showcase yourself that you can do the job by a lot of networking, and come to different events like join ACCESS Employment, and they provide a lot of opportunities for you to connect with the employers like RBC, so that you can showcase your skills and your passion for this new career move.
Thank you, Vivian. Another question here from Ira. Good question. What is the ideal formal wear for interviews?
You mean the what you wear to the interview?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend the business attire for the interview. Sometimes, as an employer, sometimes for certain roles, if you're applying for for example, fashion industry, then you can showcase your style. But for the interview, I think dress conservatively. There's nothing wrong about it. Just to make sure that you do not come to the interview wear very strong cologne or perfume, because in Canadian workplace we're very conscious of other people. A lot of people are allergic to strong perfume and cologne, so we really advocate a scent-free work environment. So make sure that you really respect that practice, and also dress something that would not distract your your hiring manager from what you bring to the table, right? Basically allow them to focus on the conversation and not to be distracted by by your clothes. I think that's something I would definitely recommend.
Okay. Another question here is from Srinivas. Wants to know, how important is it to attach a cover letter? A lot of job sites, including RBC, it says, it is optional to put a cover letter. But is it really optional, or should they always provide a cover letter?
It really depends on the hiring manager. So usually in the recruiter screening stage, recruiters, I would say I mean, maybe 80% of recruiters, they don't really look at a cover letter, right? So the resume is the most important source of data that they look at, and they shortlist based on the resume to shortlist. However, I would describe cover letter as a spare tire. So if you and another candidate got invited, or the hiring manager are in a dilemma in terms of which one they should hire or they should invite to interview, they might choose to look at your cover letter, because the cover letter is an additional opportunity to showcase your passion for the job. I can give an example that happened just recently. I was hiring an intern for a role in my team, and it's a job that's in HR and in recruitment, in my diversity recruitment. And the job mandate says that you must have passion and preferably some experience in the diversity and inclusion space, right? When I got the applicant, a lot of people apply, and a lot of people have, 10, 20 years of HR experience. But there's nowhere in their resume that shows that they have passion, they're interested in working in the diversity and inclusion space. So even though that those people have multiple years of HR background, they have compensation, employment law, they have performance, succession experience, I actually didn't consider those people. Why? Because first, they didn't customize their resume to the role. The other one is, they didn't show me why they want the job. So the cover letter actually gives you the opportunity to showcase you to your employer why I am the best candidate for the job, why I'm passionate, why do I want to work for this company. So it's an addition. I know it takes some time to write in a cover letter, and it's totally up to you. Maybe if you apply for the job that you think you're really passionate, you spend some time crafting a cover letter, and for some job that you feel is more I would say high volume roles, maybe that's not worth your time. It's up to you. However, it doesn't hurt, and of course in certain situations it can be the deciding factor whether you're invited to the interview or not. I don't know whether Ron, you have anything to add.
No, that's definitely. I think Vivian covered everything. Having a cover letter is always a good spare tire, something extra to have. It could eventually be a deciding factor, help to decide between you and another candidate. So it's definitely something I think it's good to have.
Thank you, guys. And a question that we get all the time from everyone is, does RBC consider hiring newcomers? They don't have any Canadian experience. Could you just, talk about that again?
Yeah, we definitely would consider newcomers as long as you have the skills we're looking for. We have, throughout the year, we have a lot of initiatives. Say, for example, partnering with ACCESS Employment is one of our key commitment to the newcomer community, right? We want to serve our clients or in the community, not only from the banking perspective, we want to provide value-added services. We also have a newcomer meeting place, not one, actually, we're opening more offices. The first one was in Brampton, and we provide a lot of job searching support to newcomers and to help them settle in Canada more smoothly. We host events throughout the year. The last big event we hosted was in April. We had a huge newcomer event. We invited over 120 candidates to our event. We also have some smaller events depending on the business need. So this year, just through my team's effort, we were able to make around, I think it's around 70 hires, newcomer hires. And that's just how much we were able to track in GTA only. We definitely know that there's a lot more newcomers, but we don't ask that question when you apply for a job. Are you a newcomer to Canada? So that's why unfortunately, we cannot track the stats very accurately. But based on the support we provide and some stories that were shared to us after the new hire were onboarded, new hires were onboarded, we definitely know that we hire a lot in different roles in different industries, different segments.
Thank you. A question from Nelson here is, so during the hiring process, do you perform a lot of logical or psychological tests?
Sorry, we didn't hear that question.
When you're hiring, so during the hiring process, do you perform a lot of logical or psychological tests on the candidates?
So, if I can answer that question. So, from some of our roles, as part of the recruitment process, there is an online assessment, which is used to help us gauge fit for the role. It's not necessarily a test of your intelligence. It's all about the fit for the role. One area that we do that for sure is for our retail banking. So a lot of the entry level roles in our branches. Yes, the assessment is actually the first stage of the recruitment process after you've submitted your application. All right, so you have to do an assessment, and then people who are successful in the assessment get to move on potentially for a first round interview.
Perfect, thank you. Kritika has a question here. What's the best way to ask for feedback after an interview? So let's say you weren't called or anything after your interview. Can you get in touch with somebody so that they can tell you what you need to work on?
That's a very tricky question, right? It really depends on the recruiter and the hiring manager, whether they're comfortable providing or whether they have time providing feedback. For me, myself, I would always want to provide some feedback, especially for people who are invited to the interview, because that gives them the opportunity to work on their skills and maybe what's left out, what they didn't do right during the interview. I'm going to be able to offer a lot more tips in my next webinar. I believe it's someday in October, Sonia. So it's mainly about interview, what you need to pay attention. But please don't feel frustrated if the hiring manager and the recruiter didn't get back to you. They have a very, very high heavy workload. The recruiters, they might have moved on to the next requisition they're working on. A hiring manager, we have to understand that hiring someone is something in addition to what they do day to day. It might be just they're busy, but if they definitely follow up with them, say, I would love to for you to provide me some feedback. It will only maybe take you maybe 10 minutes. Do not ask for an hour because just practically when you ask people less time, they would maybe be more willing to really give that commitment to you. Just a 10 minutes of your time, just I think it is, benefit me tremendously. Be courteous, be grateful, and be thankful. And even if they don't provide answer you, just do not be frustrated, because sometimes people are busy. Just move on to the next one. Yeah.
Thank you. A lot of people are asking what kind of roles are available for accountants, chartered accountants.
So for chartered accountant, it's very tricky because we do get a lot of good candidates, international new immigrants, that they are so experienced, And the biggest barrier for the accounting world is for anybody who work in that position, we ask you to get some designation. And that applies not only to people who are immigrants, but also people who are here, who grew up here in Canada. The advantage of the Canadian candidates is that they could have acquired this through when they're at school or when they're working for other jobs. So, but for immigrants, it might need some dedication the first couple of years to get the designation. And that's not required. It's not because RBC requires it, it's because the law, the Canadian law and in this industry requires you to get the designation. So that would be the prerequisite for you to move forward to the next stage of recruitment process. So that's very, I know it's not easy for newcomers, but that's something that's really, we're required by law to have that.
And if I could,
Yes, go ahead.
if I can just add to that, you know, it's always good and important to look to broaden your scope in terms of opportunities. Vivian had mentioned it earlier, but let's focus on your transferable skills. So as an accountant, are you okay with analyzing data and stuff like that? So there's roles in something might be risk management related, or might be an analyst related. It might not be accounting directly, but there are roles adjacent to accounting where your skills can be transferred. So you always want to have a broad scope when you're looking for opportunities.
Okay, thank you. And are there, well, you were talking about retail banking. Are there any courses that people should take to be able to be eligible for retail banking?
Again, you know, anybody with a good customer service sales background, you know, that's sort of your table stakes, your basic requirements. The courses, as I mentioned, are those regulated certificates that you must get if you want to work in any bank in sales. That's the IFIC, or the CSC. Those are things you register for online. I think it's if you just Google the Canadian Securities Institute, I think CSI, they're the ones who sort of control and administer all those various financial services courses. You can check out that site, read out a lot about it. Once you register, they sort of send you the books and stuff like that, and you can study on your own.
And ACCES Employment has a very good program, Financial Connection. You can definitely check out that program that's in partnership with RBC. So a lot of the information that's needed to get the retail banking job are included in that program.
Thank you. I had a question right here. Okay, yeah, there it is. Is there a specific resume that banks prefer? Sorry, format?
A specific resume format that we prefer.
We actually answered that question previously.
Yeah, there's no. The answer is no. It certainly varies. It could be skill based or chronological. It really depends on the role that you're applying to.
All right, thank you. Okay. All right. So a lot of people are concerned about the ATS system, thinking that it might does the ATS system prefer a certain format, or how can they beat the ATS for their resumes to get through?
No, our recruitment system does not really discriminate any kind of a resume format. I think it's always advisable if you save your resume in the PDF format, just in case if you have some special design of a resume. When you upload into Word format, it might get distorted. So so the recruiters still go through the resumes manually themselves. Our system, we did a pilot using AI technology to screen resumes, and that is to help us increase our efficiency as well as eliminate some potential human bias. So it's, we have some preliminary results showing that the AI tool is just as effective as human, but that's only a small portion of our screening process. The majority of the screening is done by recruiter. They would open your resume and then go through your resume. So please don't worry about that. I would say focus more on building a good resume that showcases your skills, and that's very much connected to the job you're looking for. I would say definitely focus on that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So this is all the time we have for questions. I know we've gone over a little bit. For any other questions that you have regarding resume writing, interviews, networking, you can go on our website, click on ACCES, and you can see all these different tiles. You can click on whatever you need help with. We have past previous webinars done by RBC that are posted online as well, including a lot of webinars that Vivian has done for us in the past. So you can check those out. They'll most likely answer a lot of your questions. Our next RBC webinar is on October 3rd, Thursday, same time, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's called Leadership in Today's Ever-Changing Workplace by Dino DeMarco. Also branch manager at RBC, and he's going to be talking about leadership styles and with his experience at RBC as well. Our next ACCES webinar is called How to Find Engineering Jobs in Canada. I know there were some engineers online today, so maybe this is something that you can check out as well. It's on October 8th, Tuesday, so go ahead and register on our website. For people who are on their way to Canada, you have your PRs and you're moving to Canada soon. If you fall under any of these categories, engineering, finance, HR, IT, sales and marketing, supply chain, and also entrepreneurship, you can email cec@accessemployment.ca, and we can start helping you with your job search or helping you with your business before you even land in Canada. And us on Instagram, we are very active on our social media. We have recently rebranded all of our online and in-person, our pamphlets and everything. So check us out on Instagram. We are on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So if you want to know what's happening at ACCES, whether it's online or in person, it will be posted on our social media. So follow us and you'll see what's going on at ACCES. And Ron and Vivian, thank you so much for joining us again today and giving us all the information, answering all the questions. We're looking forward to having you back. So if there's anything you'd like to say before we sign off, go ahead.
No, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, we hope the information we provide you can be beneficial. And like I mentioned, my next webinar is on interview. We want to focus because we get asked a lot of questions on the interview, and we want to share some information of what make a very effective and successful interview, a lot of tips. So please do, if you're interested, do go to the ACCES website to register, and I look forward to talking to you next time.
Perfect. Thank you. And you have yourselves a wonderful day ahead.